Aaron, why don't we go on to engineered wood products? Do you want to kick us off?
Sure, sure. So I think everyone knows what hardwood flooring is, and we're going to kind of stay on the flooring topic because that's traditionally where the wood is mostly used in the house. And solid wood would be the most natural. It's just wood that's been cut or quarter sawn, depending on the cut, and usually is a tongue and groove that fits together and gets finished in the home. That's the most natural type of flooring. We even have some people who choose to have, an oil finish as opposed to any sort of clear coat poly finish. So they're really touching and interacting with the wood, which is a great feeling. On the other side of the spectrum, and I'm drawing this kind of spectrum for you because there's can be a lot of confusion as to what is natural and what is not natural and everything in between. So on the non-natural side, we have a lot of people who get confused and they end up with a vinyl floor, something that has VCT in the name or luxury vinyl tile. And that is really toxic, really bad for your health, bad for the environment when it's produced. So if you can't get solid hardwood flooring, the next best thing is a type of floor that we call engineered, but really would be, slices of hardwood that are glued back together with a non-formaldehyde glue. And from there are some other options such as cork flooring or natural linoleum flooring would be options as well. Tile is very natural. It's still man-made, but it's very inert and it, contains usually clay or ceramic or porcelain. But you want to avoid anything with vinyl in the name or in the ingredients.
And let's talk about carpeting for just a second, because certainly in bedrooms, carpeting in the United States, bedrooms are very commonly floored with carpeting. We do not recommend wall-to-wall carpeting, and very widely in the wellness, building, and architecture universe, wall-to-wall carpeting is disparaged. It's partly because you can't clean it properly, and mold and particles that you can breathe will lodge in it and they will come back up into the air. And so you can't have a really clean indoor air environment if you have carpeting. In addition, economical carpeting is made of synthetic materials. So then you have a layer of plastic that may outgas between you and what is below you.
We should add here that Maharishi Vastu architecture does not discourage area rugs, so that people don't have to be necessarily walking on cold surfaces when you live in a climate where the floor gets cold.
There are plenty of natural materials from which we can have area rugs made, wool and cotton in particular.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Aaron, how about moving on to what we finish our walls with?
Sure. So most people have, some sort of painted surface. There are people who have a plaster or a clay, which is obviously very natural, at least if you're getting a traditional clay or plaster. Plaster is usually lime and silica sand and a few other natural elements. But if you have drywall, which is very common here in the US, you can paint it with, probably the most natural would be a clay paint. And that would smell like clay and feel and kind of emote like a clay look while still being a paint. And then the next level down from that would be a latex paint, a natural latex paint. And we have only a couple companies who we really trust in terms of creating a natural paint. Paint has come a long way, again, creating a spectrum of framework here. Paint used to be, it used to contain lead, terrible for your health. it used to contain lots of different chemicals, and slowly over the years, the government has forced manufacturers, and I really say forced because they didn't do this on their own. They were pushed to make it more natural. But unfortunately, what they've done is they've taken something that is not healthy and contains lots of chemicals, and they've just tried to slowly make it better and tweak it and change it depending on the certifications needed. So what we recommend and our customers trust are only companies who were created for the sole purpose of creating healthy paint. So the brands that we can wholeheartedly stand behind are AFM Safe Coat and Ecos Paint. And both of those companies were created from the ground up, from the level of, we want to make something that even the most highly discerning customer can put in their home and not breathe in any toxic chemicals. And it's easy to get kind of confused with VOCs is a catchphrase, which stands for volatile organic compounds. There are a lot of things you can find at big box stores from traditional manufacturers that say they're zero VOC or say they have a green label, but they're kind of hiding behind that. And what they're not telling you is really all the other ingredients that are in there. The analogy we use for VOCs is, you can cut open an orange and it is releasing VOCs, volatile organic compounds, into the air. Those aren't toxic, those aren't bad. Certainly there are some people who may not like the smell of those VOCs, of that orange, just like there are people who have natural allergies or they, enjoy certain smells and disenjoy others. But there's a difference between VOCs and smells and what's actually toxic. So you kind of have to trust who you're getting this from. And sticking to a food analogy, I like to trust my farmer. And so if you're at a farmer's market, you might buy something from someone who you've bought food from before. They may not be certified organic, but you know them, you trust them, they can show you where they grow their food. And so the certifications at that point matter less because you have that high relationship of trust. And so that's really what we try to do, is we try to go to that level of understanding and really know who these manufacturers are and visit with them to build that level of trust. It's much stronger than any green seal or certification. Beautiful.
And AFM is a company which does produce industrialized paint, so we wouldn't really call them natural, but people who are themselves chemically sensitive over the years have found as a rule that these paints don't seem to aggravate them at all, so they really don't seem to outgas anything. There are other companies which are completely natural, and they dominate much more in Europe than in the US. In Europe, there's much more of an attunement, a sensitivity to natural materials, and any of our European listeners can easily find extremely natural paints in that part of the world. Let's move on to countertops.
So generally when people think about countertops, kind of the standard for today's modern countertop is granite. So this is a granite countertop. I'm sure you've all seen these in nice homes. Granite comes from the earth, so it's very natural. And it's very beautiful, but with that natural beauty comes some things that are less than desirable. It does come with natural cracks or fissures in it that have to be worked around, and it does need to be sealed and usually resealed in order to not get stained from natural day-to-day use. So there has been a movement over the last 5 years. There's been a big push to basically create the same look and feel of granite, but under more controlled man-made circumstances. So this next slide shows a very beautiful modern kitchen with quartz countertops. And quartz is made from the same things inside granite, but it's put together, it's manufactured in a plant in the US. and they compress it the same way that nature does it, but they do it much, much faster. It doesn't take thousands of years. And with that comes a lot more control. So they can control the color, they control the look of those cracks and give it that character. What's nice is you don't have to seal it. There's no maintenance on it. You can put hot things on it, and you still get a huge range of color. So the most natural would be granite. Right beneath that would be quartz. And really from there on, you have basically, if you want a hard surface, we have people who are pouring cement countertops and actually making finished surfaces out of cement. Another option would be a wood countertop. If you've ever chopped on a butcher block made of end grain maple, they also make it out of bamboo. We've even seen people use paper stone, which is a recycled, I believe it is post-industrial recycled paper, and that creates a very hard surface. But again, anything that is wood or paper-based is going to break down a little bit faster than if you had quartz or granite. So there is some more maintenance with that. And then of course I would avoid Formica or anything that has, you know, synthetic materials.